All right, good morning, everybody. I'll tell you, today's call is about communication, and I've split this up in several parts. The first part is the team, second, the customer, and then the culture. But to start the call off, I want to talk about a training example I went through many years ago. And in this training exercise, they handed everybody an envelope. Inside the envelope was a thimble, like you would have an empty thread thimble that you would use, a paper clip, a thumbtack, a rubber band, and one of those little tiny scoring pencils that you would use in golf. So like a little 1.5, 2-inch pencil. And in this, what they said was it was just an envelope with these items inside, and they asked this question, or this challenge. They wanted us to make a self-powered item that would go across the desk on its own power. And they pulled out a stopwatch and pushed the stopwatch and started timing the exercise to see how that would develop. Well, interestingly enough, I played with that for a while and took about a few minutes, and I had that figured out. I was the first in the room to do that, and that may sound boastful, but, well, flat out it is. I had that thing going across the counter, and everybody looked at the way that was done, and then they started getting theirs to go across the desk. But the interesting thing about that was when you looked at the pieces of what's inside the envelope, and you were given the challenge on what was to be the item that went across the desk on its own power, the question was asked, would it have been easier if we had included directions inside the envelope? Now, I want to tell you that the obvious answer to that is, of course that would be easier if we had directions. There would not be a question as to, my goodness, do we need to have specific step-by-step directions? Place the paper clip here, use the pencil there, connect it with the rubber band through the inside of the thimble, wrap it around the pencil. These things, if they were spelled out, step A, step B, step C, would always be easier to accomplish. Why don't we do that? Why is it a mystery as to when we give our team direction or an expectation of a result without direction? How can we expect good result? The fact is that's going to challenge each and every one of us. Because if you tell me that your team has achieved perfection, and every direction has the step-by-step direction as to what we need to do to accomplish the result that's being desired or requested or even demanded, then we have to look at this with an open mind and rate yourself on this. How do I communicate what we want to achieve with the team? Is there room for improvement? I hope you would take the approach, there's always room for improvement. And let's look at a couple of ways that we need to have the team function properly. First of all, I think providing a clear direction on what the company needs and what the company policy is on every situation. There should not be any questions that they're out there on company needs, what we need to see, and the policy. And how do we develop these clear policies and needs? Well, in fact, we have to have communication. One of the best ways to communicate, I believe, is to have a weekly meeting with the staff that discusses issues as a team and doesn't get into individual failures, because those are going to be done individually. So we discuss the issues as a team, failures with the individual, and we're always asking one common question. One common question: how can we be better? And if we'll have that open communication with the team, providing the clear direction on the company needs and how to achieve those needs. You see, we can always say, you've got to be at a certain hour per RO, or you got to be at a certain effective labor rate. But I would tell you that literally hundreds of times over the years, I would get questions, well, first of all, what is effective labor rate? Or how do we achieve an improvement in effective labor rate? Because it might be as simple as the labor ops structure of it, right? That the employee might be doing what he thought was or she thought was a great job, and it would be falling short time after time after time because of one clear truth: they didn't know how. They didn't even know what it was. How do we achieve something we don't even know what is, or what we're doing that's affecting the result? So please take a special attention to the team. Do they understand how to achieve the result? Is the company providing the clear direction they need? What is the result we need, and how to achieve it? Or are your team like the training example I gave, a bunch of parts with no direction? Look at this in detail, break it down, not as a criticism, but just as an area of opportunity most of us face. And then communication, second part, with the customer. You know, it literally shocks me when I think of how often, how common it is for a customer to come into a dealership and never have anyone look at their items of interest or need at the car. They come in and say, loose door handle. Oh, customer states loose door handle. Grant, sign here. Sit there, or do you need a ride? No, I don't. I got my cousin's picking me up. Okay, see ya. The tech looks at that RO and says, okay, we've got 8 door handles on this vehicle. We got 4 door handles outside, 4 door handles inside. Which one's loose? I don't know. The customer just said. Then the advisor's tracking down the customer, trying to find out and get the detail that we need because of a lack of communication on the customer intake process. People will ask me, I don't have time. How do you expect me to do this? You don't have time to communicate properly with a customer, then we've got real problems. How about this one? Customer states rattle in dash. Okay, where in the dash? What are the conditions? See, these lack of communication issues really affect how the company is viewed by the customer. See, the customer won't come back and say their communication's bad, but they will come back on a CSI form and say, hey, you know what? They didn't fix it right the first time. Score 0. They didn't ask me how they did. They didn't do a follow-up call. They didn't prepare on the time that it was requested. They didn't even ask me if I needed a ride. The lack of communication with the customer is not only critical for CSI scores, it's critical for customer satisfaction and retention. It's how we keep the customers coming back. It's how we understand and communicate on the repair orders that the technicians can be efficient. One of my favorites is on a repair order to have a customer come in and actually write this on the advisor writes this on the RO, and I'm sure if you looked at ROs in your shop with regularity, you would see this. Intermittent hard start. Customer states, intermittent hard start. Well, one of the things that every manufacturer has now available is drivability worksheets where you can pull some questions out for the customer, look at what the issue is they're facing, how do we duplicate this concern? Does it happen when it's hot, when it's cold? How do we understand what's going on with this hard start? Well, if we ask those questions and we fill out a diagnostic worksheet, we're well on the way of meeting the needs of that customer. The technician has a shot of repairing it. First time, properly. But how many shops do you think use these diagnostic worksheets? They're wonderful tools. They're wonderful tools. Providing technicians information, saving countless hours of production time for them. It allows them to make a better living. It allows the company to sell more parts and generate more labor gross profit. Yet this is a tremendous need all across the United States. We don't use the tools we have available, and we don't communicate properly with the customer. You see, the better we communicate with the customer, the more they come back, the more they send their friends and family in. We have to communicate well with the customer. And third, we need to have a culture of communication. Everyone must be open and feel it's okay to bring issues in, operational issues, or individual issues without doubt of judgment or action against them. See, sometimes managers will revolt. They'll get defensive when an employee brings an issue into them. They think, well, this is an attack on me. It's not. How can we be better? Another failure I see in communication, many times I'll see dealer principals or managers respond to an issue in anger. And I'll tell you directly that when you're angry, that's not the time to try and communicate any issue with an employee or team member. Communication properly removes anger. Don't even attempt to communicate with a team member or a customer when you're angry about the issue. And I want to bring an example into this. And one of the people that I've respected for many, many years is Zig Ziglar. Those that don't know Zig, he passed away last year, but impacted countless millions of people with his motivation and encouragement. But Zig has a story that touched my heart so many years ago, and actually many, but this is one that I want to share with you today. And this husband, in an act of love for his wife, every morning would bring her a slice of toast buttered slice of toast to her while she was in bed. Before she got out of bed, every morning he would bring her a slice of toast. 50 years of marriage go by, and he continued this practice for the 50 years. On their 50th anniversary, he did the same exact thing, brought a slice of toast up to his wife in bed. And she burst out into tears and started yelling, 50 years of marriage! 50 years of marriage! And every day you bring me the end of the loaf. The worst possible slice in the loaf of bread. And you bring that to me every morning. You would think on 50 years of marriage, you would bring me a regular, nice piece of toast. And the husband welled up in tears and said, that's my favorite. You see, he was bringing his best every morning. And she thought it was his worst. Now I want to share that example for one main point. Communication is critical, not only in the companies we run, not only in the customers we care for, critical in our lives, our relationships, and we have to be sure that we're paying attention to how we communicate. The better we do it, the more we achieve the results we all desire. Now, if you have any questions or comments, you can push the number 1. Our moderator, Mike Sebo, will see it and respond to you. Mike, I will tell you at this time, we will just open up the line briefly and see if anyone's got anything they would like to share about this.
No problem. The lines are completely open, gentlemen.
Questions or comments?
Wonderful story that you communicated today, Rob. Thank you.
You are welcome. All right. Well, if no comments or beyond that, then we will appreciate your time today. And everybody have a wonderful day and communicate well. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Our company and client base has grown consistently by referrals. Give us a call and let's chat about ways to improve your performance and see why every one of our clients refer us to friends and family to help them get their dealerships shining also.